In this episode of Hexes and Soldiers, I die. And it's awesome. Hey gang, welcome back to the table. Yes, I died. Wasn't the first time, won't be the last. How did I get to this point? You ask. Well, we'll run through it. What we have here is one dead goblin and 3, 4, 5, 6 living goblins that I've been fighting. And yeah, they got me. I died. So what I'm working on still is what I continue to call Wither, or as of this shooting, the Wither Project. Call it a dungeon crawl, call it a fantasy adventure, call it what you will. But that's what we're dealing with. You can see the 2 on the dice represents critical hit, or if you will, death. And what I've been playing on, just a few things to get out of the way first, is now I had this table set up with a bunch of different dungeons, but what I've resorted to is just one big play area surface, if you will. This is 20 by 20 squares, and as mentioned in a previous video, these squares are gray plastic squares that are used for infantry bases, for Napoleonic stuff, whatever your heart desires, from Warlord Games. So that's what these are. The figure here is from, I believe, HeroScape, who, again, I talked in a previous video, have souped up with some extra gear and touched up painting wise, and been using him, and as of this shooting, just started calling him Grimwood. The goblins are from the Legend of Driss Dungeons and Dragons board game. For those of you familiar with that, you may scoff at these games. I think there's now 6, maybe 7, 6 of those games. They can be a lot of fun. They're a bit rudimentary as far as play and running through them. But I tell you what, for the value of the miniatures alone that come with these things, it's worth a buy. At least 1 or 2 of these. So maybe I'll run through some of those as well later on. So let me run down what we're looking at here. So I focused more in the last video, talked more about the narrative that I'm trying to use to weave together adventures and things, and I've kind of put that on the back burner for now and gone to the sweet spot, what's in my wheelhouse, as it were, which is the combat mechanics. And I've been hammering some things out. So this thing has evolved a bit from day one to where I'm at now. But what I've got so far is, we'll cut right to the chase here. Let's start with Grimwood himself. The latest development there is a core rating system, which works thusly. Let me start over here. This should be a 6. So depending on how you start, you can start at, I guess for lack of a better term, level 1, or you can start at level 5. You have a certain enough, so all of these dice combined are your total hit points, if you will, but each die represents a stepped level of ability. So rather than have 6 different abilities and 6 different numbers representing those abilities, I have again a core number rating that represents a number of things. So at the highest level, level 5, you would need to roll 10 or less to land an attack. At the next highest level, you would need a 9 or less, and then 8 or less, 7 or less, or 6 or less. When you receive wounds, for lack of a better term, you deduct, starting with, say you start at level 5, starting with this die. Once he takes 6 wounds, you drop to the second die. Now, if you drop to the second die, as mentioned, you will be attacking at 9 or less rather than the previous die, which was 10 or less. And as you take wounds at the 4th level, you'll notice it is 1 less than the previous level, the highest level of 5. So when you take 5 wounds at 9 or less, you drop to the next level, which allows you to attack at 8 or less with 4 wounds or hit points, etc., until you get to level 1, in which you are attacking at 6 or less, but you only have 2 hit points left. I'm fairly fond of this. It's worked out rather swimmingly. And again, that is what I'm calling the core rating system. Now, that's not to say it represents every single thing for Mr. Grimwood, but that is the heart of the rating system for him as a character. You still have an armor class, which can influence your die roll, which we will get to. You have a ranged attack modifier, or not, depending. And you have a sustained attack number, which we'll get to that as well. And that, I believe, is it. Yes. Anything else is supplementary or peripheral. That said, let's see if we can run through briefly what happened, and then we'll reset this and run through it again for you guys to see what happens on the second go round. So I rolled randomly to place Grimwood within the 10 hex radius. The size of the playing surface will vary depending on what I call the situations in the game. A situation, for lack of a term, being a scenario, each situation being linked. So 10 by 10, and then that just means rolling a 10-sided die for your rows and columns. Placed him there, and then I did thusly for each goblin, who were the goblins were fairly spread out, but obviously they've moved in, and we had a few ranged. We've got a bow here, a bow here, and a bow here. So there's your ranged attacks. I've fended off a number of attacks. I killed one goblin, but as you can see, it was starting to get rather critical as they move in within striking range. Those that didn't have ranged weapons. I had taken 4 wounds, which dropped this to a 2, so I was 2 hit points away from dropping to level 4, which means I would attack at 9 or less. But before it went any further, a goblin rolled an attack, and on his attack he rolled a 2, and that was a critical hit, thus killing me. So rather than having to whittle away at something before you can kill it, which seems a little weird, you can kill something regardless of its health, regardless if it is your very first strike, etc. So it adds an element of surprise and worry, because at any point in the game you could die. It's not based on, well, my hit points are getting low, I better start being careful. No, at any point in the game you could die. So made it fairly a couple rounds through, and then this archer here shot me, and he's the one that rolled the 2, so that killed me. That's how we got there. So let's pause this, and I'll set it up again. We'll come back and run through it so you can see how this works. Alright, there we are with everything randomly placed. Again, I rolled a d10 counting 1, 2, 3, etc. across for the column, and then same down for the rows. 10, and then that's where I placed everyone, including Mr. Grimwood. Then I took my chits, my initiative chits, and shook them up in my hand and randomly assigned a chit to each character to determine the order of action. That said, we've got number 2 will go first. So to move, it is 4 tiles plus 1d6. If you roll a 1 or a 2, that's plus 1. 3 or 4 is a plus 2. 5 over 6 is plus 3. So that'll be 4, 5, 6 for him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up to him, and we can attack after moving. Let me verify that. Action phase, I'll pause this, come back. Yes, he can do that. So that is a goblin with a, oh, that looks like a knife, I guess. Who has an attack strength of 8 or less, so we'll roll our 2 dice, and being careful to note dice combinations here because those are imperative. So 8 or less on this, he rolled a 4, that is a hit. Now note the 1 on the die. What does that mean? That means he can attack again immediately after this. So we'll keep those dice there for reference. And take 3 more of these. Now I'll roll my armor save, for lack of a better term. What I need to do actually is roll less than that. Now I do have some modifiers for my armor, so that'll be -2. So 6, 7, 8 minus 2 is a 6. Still not high enough. I'm sorry, still not low enough to beat that attack. So I suffer damage. Now the number of hit points that I lose is the difference of, let's see, so it was 6, 7, 8 modified to a 6. 4 from a 6 is 2, so that drops to a 4. A little bit of deja vu. I'll turn his number upside down to note that he already went, although, as mentioned, he goes again because he rolled that 1. So he attacks again, 8 or less, and he rolled another 1. Wow. So that is 7. I should be able to beat that, no problem. 5, 6, 7. I already beat it. I need equal or less than that to defeat that, and I did that without even adding in the armor modifiers. So he rolled another 1, so he gets to go again, and he's done after this. In fact, he failed his 8 or less requirement for the attack, so he is done. Number 2. Number 3 is over here. He does have a ranged weapon, which he will use, but let's roll to see how far he moves. So that'll be 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's leave him right there. And for the ranged weapon, that's still 8 or less. Now I do have range modifiers, but we're so relatively confined space-wise. If we were using the entire board, that would come more into effect, and that breaks down to close, medium, and long range as far as your modifiers go. So otherwise, we're still looking at 8 or less requirement. He did not roll a 1. He did not roll doubles. He did not. So there's your 7. If I can roll and beat that, we're good to go. That was number 3. He didn't roll a 1, so he's done. I did not beat that. I rolled an 11, which drops to a 9, and that's not good enough. So 7 from 9, you've got another 2 hit points I've lost, so that drops to 2. Whittling away. Alright, so then that brings me next, as I'm a 4. I'm going to take a swing at this guy here. I am currently at level 5. Now that will vary, again, according to player whim or scenario specifications, but currently for this demonstration, level 5 puts me at 10 or less. I did get a 1 on the, let's re-roll this guy. One die should be white and one die should be colored, right? There's your critical hit right there. That's an auto kill. He's done. If you roll a 2, there's no saves, no anything. He's done. Alright, 5. How's it feel, huh? This guy here, he will move rather, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is, I wonder if these move rates are too hefty. Let's see. There's his move, puts him adjacent. Let's see what he can do. He is also 8 or less. Rolls a 7. He did not get a 1. I will need a 7 or less. I've beaten that. All the heck. Also, I've forgotten to add that each time you take damage without dying, you need to test metal, which is basically your morale test. So that also... So what do you need to roll equal or less than? Well, again, that coincides with where you're at here. So as I'm still level 5, that's simply 10 or less. And I've gotten that. Alright. Pretty much lost track of what I was doing here. 6. Who's 6? Right here. No point in moving him. He'll just simply fire. That's, again, 7. Let's see, 8 or less. 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got that. I will need to roll 8 or less. So 5, 6, 7, 8 got that. So fine there. He's done. 7 is our goblin champion up here. How far does he move? 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll put him here. I do have obstacles represented by this oblong squares and little squares and roughly the same size squares. Now the perimeter of the battlefield is represented by, if you can imagine, columns on each corner. So there's that. Now our goblin has a little bit better attack rating of 9 or less, which he just made with a 9. Surely I can beat that. And no, I cannot. I rolled a 12, which might be a critical fail. Let me check that. So no, the critical hits and fails really only affect the attacker, so that's nothing. But I did, let's see, 12 dropping to 10, right? That's 1 point of damage, so he's dropped to a 1. He's done. That brings number 8. 4 tiles plus 2 is 6. Puts him about right there. And then finally number 9 with ranged capability. He's only going to move 5. Still puts him within range though. Well, he's already within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. That's going to be 8 or less on that guy. Rolled a 9, so he failed that. And that's the end of the first round. So we're 1 hit point away from dropping from a level 5 to a level 4, which means what? Instead of 10 or less, we then fight at 9 or less. How can you regain hit points? Well, I haven't really sussed that out yet, but you can imagine that perhaps magic items or spells, things of that nature that are stumbled upon could have a hit point regain effect. You know, I don't want to focus too much on... Well, he's actually gone. I don't want to focus too much on regaining hit points. It would be an infrequent thing if I did work that in. You'll also notice that the goblins don't have a core rating system, so they would be right. That is only for the character players, such as Mr. Grimwood here. They have a flat hit point rate of what? Well, of 1, unless you have the goblin champion here with a hit point rate of 2. Alright, let's roll through round 2 here, see what happens. Next one, as far as initiative here, is this number 3. He's going to hang there and try and roll an 8 or less. He rolled a 5. The 1 needs to be on the colored die, so that doesn't count for sustained attack. Pretty good roll. Let's see if... Jesus, I can breathe. Let's see if I can do something with that. 4, 5, 6. Dropping to a 4 because of the -1 inherent defense and -1 leather armor. Makes 2, so he's just fine there. So he's done. That brings us to me again. Let's see if we can knock, let's see if we can knock the champion out. Needing a 10 or less, rolling a 7. And he should be able to roll 7 or less, no problem, but he doesn't. He rolls an 11. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is 4 points. He only has 2 hit points. So our goblin champion is done. That was nice. Who's next? That was me, so 5, he's next. He's going to roll, needing an 8 or less. He rolls an 11. That's nothing, so he's done. Grimwood may make it this time. And then 6, another goblin archer here. 8 or less, rolls a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No good. Brings us to 7, who's gone. 8 is this feller here. Needs to move up, so that's no problem. 1, 2, 3, 4 with an attack of 8 or less. And he fails, so rolling a 9. And finally, number 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 5, 6, 7. So let's put him here. And fire right at my side. This is how I died last time. 3, 4, 5. It's not a critical hit, but it is a hit. I need to roll 5 or less. And I rolled a 4, so good to go there. That's the end of round 2. There is magic spell casting in here. You prep to cast spell. And then I'm sitting on a number of ways to deal with spell casting. One being continuity, keeping it similar to how combat in general works. Or 2, differentiating it from conventional combat. Haven't decided yet. So now it's this guy needing 8 or less, rolling a 10. So he fails. Then me again. Excuse me, good lord. Let's try and attack that guy there. Still 10 or less from me, and rolled a critical hit with a 2. He's dead. Gone. Bit the dust. Racking up goblins here. And next in our initiative is this goblin archer there with a 6. Oh, it's close. He rolled a 3. I almost died. That's going to be hard to beat. Let's see if I can do that. 3, 4, 5. Dropping 2 points is a 3, so I did meet that. That's awesome. Next we have this guy here. Nope. This guy here. 8 or less. He rolls 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Failing. And finally this guy. 8 or less. Rolling 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What is that? Round 3? Can you level up? Yes. How do you do so? Yet to be determined. But it's in the notes. Again, as mentioned previously, there's different ways to do this, right? So you could start at level 1 and then work your way up as you go, or do as I'm doing, start at level 10 and deal with attrition. Goblin Archer next. 8 or less. God, every time I see a 1, I get nervous. All right, so because see, this is what I like though. Every roll is potential disaster, not just when you get whittled down. All right, so he rolls a 5. That's pretty good. Let's see what I can do with that. 5, 6, 7. Drop the 2. That's also a 5. So good to go there. I'm next. I'm going to strike him with a 2. Watch. Whoops. Let's in the bin. I'm cursed. There we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's terrible. In fact, it is a miss. Number 6. Archer. 8 or less. Roll a 4. So 4 or less for me. I don't know if I'm going to be so lucky this time. That's a 4. That's a 9. It's only going to drop to a 7. So 3 points. So there's 1 point. That's going to drop to a 3. Now I'm at 4th level, which means striking at 9 or less. What was that? 6? And then 8. 4, 5, 6. Roll a 3, so good to go there. And then finally 9. And he rolled a 7, so he's got his hit, and surely I can match that. Or not. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I can. 5, 6, 7. Alright, so that's round 4. In the back of my mind, because some of you may be saying, hey, potential of rolling a 2 every time is pretty high. Well, it is and it isn't, but yes, the more you roll, the higher the chance is you're going to bite the dust. So maybe at some point there will be something that I decide needs to be added in to make it where you don't die so easy, but then that goes against the whole point of the thing. We've been watching through what? How many rounds? And he hasn't died yet, so seems to be working. All right, starting with him, 8 or less, rolls a 7. On average, you're going to roll a 7. Then your 2s and 12s rarely come up. I forget what the percentage rate is. 5, 6, 7, and I rolled a 10. That's only going to drop to an 8, so that's 1 point of damage I took. It'll drop from a 3 to a 2. And then we have me next. Come on, let's get rid of this goblin here. 4, 5, pretty good. I get another attack because there's a 1 on the red die. See if he can defend that with a 4, 5, 6. He cannot. Takes 1 hit, he's gone. 3 left. I can attack again, but there's nobody to swing at, so there's that. I have no ranged capability as such. That leaves... Did I already do him? I feel like I already did him. I'll do it again, but I feel like I already did it. This is where I die. Oh, he failed anyway, so that's a moot point. Rolling a 9. Alright, 8 or less here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just making it, and 6, 7, I beat it. So, turn everybody right side up again. What do we have left? These archers that are hanging back? How the hell am I supposed to... I guess I'll be moving. Alright, he's first. Rolls a 9, fails. I'm next. I'm moving. And I can move as far as I want. Let's go here. And swing on this guy. That's 9 or less now, remember. 6, and I rolled a 11. Awesome. He's done. Six. Whoa, there was a 1, but it ends up being a 7. And I failed that. 7, so that's an 11, drops to a 9. That's 2 hit points taken away. Now I'm at level 3, which means 8 or less to strike. And finally him. Rolls a 7. I've got that all day. He gets to attack again though. Yep, beat that. And since he rolled a 1, he gets to attack again. Oh, he rolled doubles. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not yet, or have even been paying attention. We'll get to that, but he did roll doubles. We'll get to that in a second. He needs now less than an 8. So 10 drops to an 8 with his 2. But had he succeeded in knocking off some hit points, it would be 1 less than normal since he rolled doubles. So that is to say doubles are bad when you're attacking. Alright, let's keep it going. We got 3 goblins left. Grimwood has been whittled down to a level 3, which means he strikes at 8 or less. Same as the goblins. We'll start here. 8 or less. He rolls a 4 with a 1 on it, colored die. What can I do with that? 5, 6, 7, 8 drops to a 6. I'm going to lose 2 hit points. He got a 1 on the colored dice, so he goes again. And got nothing this time, so he's done. I'm next. Give me something. Give me 8 or less. 5, 6, 7. What does he do with that? He meets it. Great. So that's that. And 6. This guy here. 8 or less rolls an 8. Can I meet or beat that 8? Yes, rolling a 7. And finally this guy. 3, 4 with a 1 on the stinking colored die. Now I gotta beat that. I do not beat that. In fact, I fail miserably. That is an 11. Drops to 9. That's 5 points I've lost. Now I'm at level 1, which is 6. So you drop faster the more hit points you lose, if you notice. Did he roll a 1? Is that what's going on? Let's assume he did. Well, he failed anyway. Alright, still have 3 goblins left. Now, at this point, I would probably, in fact, maybe before this point, I would have just tried to evade and run off somewhere else, risking what horrors lay in wait. But for purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and run through the rest of it just to see if Mr. Grimwood stays alive. We've got this goblin here. He rolls a 6. He got his hit. He gets to hit again because there's a 1 on the colored die. What do I get? A 7 drops to a 5, so he's good to go. But he gets to fire again. He's got an 8 this time. Still got the hit. What do I get? I get a 6, 7, 8, 9. Drops to a 7. So we're good there. He's done. Grimwood grips his sword, swings with all his might, and gets a 5. A respectable 5. What does he get? 6, 7, 8. Goblin Archer. Done. We're getting close here. And then 6. 4, 5, 6. Got his roll. Got his hit, rather. And 6 or less. Can he do it? He cannot do it. I think that may be the end. Yes, it is. 4, 5, 6. That's an 11. Drops to a 9. Yeah, that's the end of Mr. Grimwood. However, dead Grimwood should not hang his head too low. He knocked off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 goblins by himself. No easy feat. Another question you may find yourself asking as well. Why are you using one character to fight all these guys? Well, the intention initially was that this would be a solo, not just solo play as far as you the human, but solo as far as the character on running through the adventure. Now, that is not written in stone. I do have it where you can have different characters, each with the core rating system. So that would take some of the pressure off of Mr. Grimwood. And then can you even imagine if he had started, now again he started at level 5 and was attrited all the way down, not before knocking off 5 of the goblins, but he would have made it 1 or maybe 2 rounds if he had started at level 1, with a two hit point health. So there's that. I'm fairly happy with this. It's got some ironing to do, and we've got, if I can move the camera up, we do have over yonder an accumulation of enemies, foes, monsters, etc. Like I said, some of these guys from these D&D box sets are pretty cool. If I can run through these. These are from, now I don't own the game, never had it, but bought these separately years ago. I just thought they were so cool. These are Skeleton Warriors from the Monolith Conan game. And I have a crappy camera, so that's the best you're going to get. But I've got a number of these. 15 with axes, 30 with spears, 15 with swords. And then we have, just by way of example, again from the Legend of Drizzt board game box. You get a whole bunch of stuff, but these guys will be fun to encounter as you adventure along. Trolls, etc. And then that which took up most of my time, well, I guess this is taking up most of my time now, but that which took up a lot of time is this Balrog looking guy. They call him, what is his name? Ertu Balor. And I had to fix him. So what did I do? His wings were initially close to his body, almost like he was in an invisible shell pressing on him. I didn't like that, so I cut the wings off and raised him up and outward so he didn't look so confined. And his fire whip was wrapped around the base, looking almost like a tail, so I cut that off and repositioned it so it was coming out away from the base. The sword's got some issues as it stuck looking like it's a bendy sword, so there's that. Primed him, and I guess I'll paint him at some point, but he's the big boss fight that comes with the Legend of Drizzt game that I modified. So that's what is going on with that. Anything else to mention before I cut you guys loose? Again, I mentioned briefly spell casting. I haven't decided exactly how I want that to work. Unlike a lot of these things where you have 5,000 different spells to choose from, I'm going to keep it very simple and minimum. So that makes what spells you do have that much more important. I'm not even looking at the rules here to see if there's anything else. Oh, I do have cover in here. So if, for instance, he was here and he were here, you could still maybe see him, but he's technically behind some cover there, so that would have an effect on his ability to hit him. So whereas he's 8 or less, since he's behind cover, it would drop to 7 or less to hit him. I do have character sheets on here that have all the core rating system on it, your ranged attack, sustained attack, armor, modifiers, place to put the name. So for instance, Mr. Grimwood, weapon, items, skills. Again, weapons I'm wavering on as to what I offer or is available. I kind of like the idea of just simply having a sword and that's it. But then that could seem to get a little bit stale as you go through a number of these situations with the same weapon, not having the choice to switch it out for something different, something better. So we'll see about that. And then the situations themselves, I haven't done anything. I wrote some narrative for the big boss fight at the end with the witch. But I haven't really done much with that. The title, again, the title page, title page that you saw, that is subject to change as well. That's just what I'm working with currently, and I used AI to design the kind of opening in the woods there, the entrance, if you will, of the underground labyrinth area, and then the text with the sword is of my doing. So that's about where we're at. This is pumping these videos out like crazy, right? I think this is the second video in possibly 8 weeks, and the last video was more of a whiny, what am I going to do? Is it okay if I type video? I do appreciate everybody's response to that video. I got a lot more feedback than I thought I would on that, and it'll be curious to see what kind of feedback I get on this, because this is the first time I've actually done something like this, different from what I normally do, a hardcore fight / skirmish battle. So we'll be interested to hear what you guys think about that. All right, please share your thoughts at the bottom of this video. We'll have more at some point. This is just a taste of what's to come and where I'm at currently with the Wither project. All right, from me and Mr. Grimwood, we say good night, and y'all have a wonderful week.